What happens when a hurricane strikes with incredible force on the exact anniversary of one of America's worst storms? Well, in August of 2021, Hurricane Ida did just that, etching its name into history as one of the strongest, most destructive hurricanes to ever hit Louisiana. This is the story of Hurricane Ida. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to break down exactly how this storm formed, how it struck, and why its aftermath caught so many completely off guard. Section 1. An eerie anniversary. So what actually happens when a hurricane strikes with that kind of incredible force on the exact anniversary of one of America's worst storms? It's a pretty chilling thought, right? As August 2021 was wrapping up, people on the Gulf Coast weren't just watching a storm approach. They were facing this terrifying historical echo, the psychological weight of that exact timing. Man, it just immediately put everybody on high alert.
Section 2. Rapid Intensification.
The sheer speed of Ida's evolution was, well, it was terrifying. It started out simply enough down in the Caribbean Sea in late August, but then it entered the Gulf of Mexico, and the waters there were incredibly warm, acting basically like high-octane fuel. In a terrifyingly short window, the system rapidly intensified from a concerning storm right into a powerful Category 4 monster. The speed of that escalation, that's exactly what makes these modern storms so incredibly dangerous. And that brings us to the impossible decision coastal residents suddenly had to make. Forecasters were desperately warning that the storm could become life-threatening, right? So communities were completely split. On one hand, you had thousands of families making the grueling choice to evacuate, fleeing those warnings and just leaving everything behind. But on the other hand, others stayed. They remained behind, hoping against hope they could protect their homes and somehow ride out the incoming fury.
Section 3. Making Landfall.
Okay, so the date is August 29, 2021. The location, Port Fourchon, Louisiana. This is where Hurricane Ida officially made landfall, just violently tearing into the Louisiana coastline. All those preparations, all those desperate warnings, this was the exact moment they materialized into reality.
150. That is the terrifying number of miles per hour of the sustained winds that just hammered the coast. I mean, try to even imagine wind moving at 150 miles per hour. It's almost incomprehensible. Force like that doesn't just push things around, it actively destroys. We're talking winds that tore roofs straight off of homes, snapped thick power poles like they were little twigs, and violently uprooted thousands of trees.
But honestly, the wind was only half the story here. The coast was hit by a massive storm surge. If you don't know, that's a powerful flood of coastal waters pushed inland by the hurricane, which overwhelms communities in a matter of hours. The sheer force of Ida's winds basically acted like a giant plow, physically shoving the ocean onto the land. Coastal communities didn't just get rain, they were rapidly inundated with this literal wall of water that swallowed entire neighborhoods whole.
Section 4. Inland Devastation. Now, there is a super stark contrast between the two impact zones. We just talked about the coastal impact in Louisiana, the 150-mile-per-hour winds, the snapped poles, the massive ocean surge. But as Ida moved inland and away from the coast, the threat profile completely flipped. Up over the eastern United States, the danger transformed into torrential rainfall and severe flash flooding. It was a completely different kind of disaster, and it caught the Northeast totally off guard. Let's walk through this compounding cascade of failures, because it's wild. Even though Ida had weakened into a tropical storm at this point, it was still packed with just an unbelievable amount of moisture. It unleashed torrential rainfall that sparked flash floods across multiple eastern states, and the visuals from this were absolutely shocking. I mean, New York City subway stations literally filled with rushing water. Major roads completely transformed into raging rivers. Thousands of people suddenly found themselves stranded in their cars or homes, and across the region, millions of people were plunged into darkness without electricity.
Section 5. The $75 billion aftermath.
We really have to pause on this number. By the time Hurricane Ida finally ended, more than 100 people had tragically lost their lives. Whether it was from the immediate coastal impact or those sudden, violent flash floods hundreds of miles inland, the human toll of this storm was just devastating.
And then, from a physical and financial perspective, the sheer scale of the destruction is almost hard to wrap your head around. $75 billion. The damages left in the wake of Ida exceeded $75 billion, leaving behind a massive, agonizing recovery effort.
As you can imagine, this was not a quick fix. Communities across Louisiana and the Northeast faced months of grueling recovery. Emergency crews really became the heroes of the hour here. They worked tirelessly, around the clock, to restore power grids, clear out debris, and assist families whose entire lives had been completely upended by the disaster.
Section 6. The Legacy of Ida.
So what does this all mean? Well, Hurricane Ida forced us to confront some pretty uncomfortable realities about our changing environment. It sparked vital, renewed discussions all across the country. It really highlighted the escalating, growing dangers of extreme rainfall and storms that rapidly intensify right before landfall. It forced city planners and citizens alike to talk seriously about climate resilience, how we manage flood protection in areas we previously thought were safe, and the absolute necessity of emergency preparedness.
Hurricane Ida will undoubtedly be remembered as one of the most destructive hurricanes of the 21st century, but its lasting impact has to be the lesson it leaves behind. Preparation and timely evacuation can save lives. I want you to really think about that. In an era where storms can escalate with terrifying speed and strike far beyond the coastline, readiness isn't just an option, it is absolutely our best defense. Subscribe to USA Storms for more real storm documentaries, hurricanes, tornadoes, and extreme weather stories from across America. So I'll leave you with this. What steps can you take today to ensure you're ready for whatever weather tomorrow brings?